the owl from Harry Potter gets his dick cut off. This is Spoilers.
Wow, that's good.
One of the better spoilers. That's awesome.
Her dick cut off, Kylo. Come on.
Don't you know me, Kansas City? I'm the new Berlin Wall. Try and tear me down. I was born on the other
Thank you.
side.
Hello and welcome to Spoilers. I'm your host, Korey, Kylo Ren memes. And I will be the Hedwig of tonight's episode. And let's introduce the Angry Inch, my band, my fellow podcasters. Since we're doing a movie review on a musical, I want you guys to say who you are and tell me 2 musicals that you like. They can be your favorite or just 2 that you like. You can say why if you want, and you can also say where you're recording out of, but I find that kind of pointless. Brett, you go first.
Whoa.
And you can say 3.
I have 3, actually.
Only Brett.
I knew it.
No, but I was going to narrow it down to 2. Well, I'll say 3, I guess. You said 3. This is Brett. You don't need to know where I'm recording from.
A secret location.
My 3... I completely went away from Disney movies. I didn't even count those. I didn't even think of them, so I'm not going to use those. My 3 are Wizard of Oz, 1939, An American in Paris, 1951, and My Fair Lady, 1964.
Lovely.
Loverly.
Pappy, you go next, please.
Yeah, this is Pappy recording from Simi Valley, California.
Hey.
If I had to pick, my favorite movie of all time is a musical.
Fantasia.
That's The Muppet Christmas Carol, which I absolutely love. Talked about it on the Best of the 90s podcast that we did with Film Dylan. Second one, I'm going to stay with the Muppets.
Damn it.
Muppet Treasure Island actually has some... I'm sorry, Stevie. Has some bangers of songs. So if you're not into musicals, the Muppets provide an easy backdoor into some cool songs and movies.
By the way, when you said lovely earlier and I said loverly, the My Fair Lady crowd is going wild right now with that reference.
Yeah,
We have a big
are.
My Fair Lady audience, so
Oh, definitely.
I'm glad to hear that.
My wife's laughing.
I'm going to awkwardly insert myself here and go in between Stevie and Josh. I talked about this on the Cats podcast we did a year ago, but I love Rent. I know, Pappy, that you said you've been, in your Letterboxd review, you've been getting some recommendations to watch Rent. Something tells me that you would hate it. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because you're kind of a hater, but I love Rent personally. I loved it since I was a young man, and
Everyone has AIDS.
AIDS, AIDS, AIDS.
AIDS, AIDS, AIDS.
that's the one. I don't know if this one counts, but I really love Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas. I don't know if, that is a musical technically. I don't know if you count those kind of like Disney
No,
things,
it's a
but
musical. It's a musical.
He literally singing 70% of the movie. What's this? What's this? Finally watched it. It's great.
It's a musical, that's what it is.
Yes.
But yeah, those are mine. Stevie.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't love Danny Elfman's music, but I was gonna tweet this last week, but I forgot because I have horrible ADD. Nightmare Before Christmas. The songs in the score is such a banger. Like, I love that movie, especially for its music. But my favorite, I won't say my favorite ones, but ones I really like. One was recent, I think it was 2016, maybe 2017, which was Sing Street.
Oh, yeah.
Sing Street, absolute banger. Man, what would be another musical that's not super obvious?
You love La La Land, don't you?
Yeah, that's really obvious, though.
Love and Mercy, another Spoilers episode.
It's not a musical, though. Trying to think here. I'll say... Because Pappy took my Muppets one, which is always awesome.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you should be. I'll say Fiddler on the Roof. I do love me some Fiddler on the Roof.
Classic. Well, that leaves us with Brother Josh.
Brother Josh here, recording out of Goshen, Indiana. I like saying that because I feel like it builds community. So, yay.
Yeah, exactly.
Yay to all the Hoosiers out there.
Who?
We did it. Don't, Brett. We did a pod on Hamilton. I like surprisingly like that a lot, even though I find it weird that Lin-Manuel Miranda is the only person nominated for Best Actor when he's like the weakest actor and singer in it.
It's not even the cool one.
Topical.
Anyway, my actual answers are South Park, Bigger, Longer, Uncut. That is actually Spoilers episode 141.
Clitters.
Nice.
Yes, Brett?
That wasn't me. That was Pappy putting clitoris in again.
Oh. No, it wasn't. And Beatles love Cirque du Soleil. Does that count? I saw that live in Vegas once, and it's kind of like being on really hard drugs, but you're not. It's pretty sweet.
The mushrooms are turning on me. I really wanted to see that one.
I really like the Beatles, though. Like, I even like the movie Yesterday, weirdly, even though it's not good. But, like,
No.
Cirque du Soleil stuff is actually, like, really cool to watch, if anyone's ever seen that.
Well, I'm sure you'd like Across the Universe then, or you've probably already seen it. That's a good
I've
one.
seen it, yeah. Meh.
We're potting Let It Be, right? When that comes out? For sure.
Yeah, maybe do two different versions of that, Pappy. The old one and the new one.
Oh, I like it. I pick up what you're putting down. Sing Street, number 48, by the way.
That was 48?
Classic Explorers episode. Long time ago.
Gotta have those notes ready, Stevie.
That was some ground floor action right there. I tell you what.
Well, before we go into Hedwig and the Angry Inch, Stevie, did you have like some kind of score to settle about this Cats thing?
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. I enjoy the new Cats movie unironically. I think it's a fun film. I hate James Corden more than any other celebrity on this planet. But once I move past him even being in the movie,
Why?
I enjoy it. Korey, I just want you to tell me 2 things you like about the movie Cats.
See, this two things shit, you said one thing, and I was like, okay, I can think of one thing.
I need 2. I'm feeling it. I need 2.
I am glad that they edited out the buttholes. So I'll give the movie that. It did not show exposed buttholes.
That's a good one.
That's a really good one.
I was talking about the Beatles, you guys. Paul McCartney does a cool carpool karaoke with James Corden. Just saying. All right, you can do your number 2 now, Corey.
You got to poop?
I don't have a number 2, man. Fuck that movie.
Yeah, do your number 2.
Do your
Corey.
number 2.
On Cats.
Try to give you time.
Okay, open wide. I'm sorry. There's no number 2. That movie is something else. It's really bad.
I think one day you'll look back on it and you'll say, I really like that movie. One day.
That's what they do here, guys. They bully me into submission. But we're here to talk about Hedwig and the Angry Inch, a 2001 film based on a rock musical, starring and directed by John Cameron Mitchell. I guess to get right into the movie, Pappy, maybe you can help me out here. The movie opens with present-day Hedwig performing with her band, the Angry Inch. And Pappy, maybe you can kind of tell us about our lead character. Who is Hedwig? How would you put Hedwig into words for maybe someone that is completely unfamiliar?
Well, I guess, if you were completely unfamiliar, like I was the first time I watched this yesterday, it's pretty overwhelming in terms of what's going on. There's a lot of androgyny and transgender people in the band. There's animations happening while they're playing. So there's a lot of sensory overload, and that doesn't not extend to Hedwig either. She's very flamboyant. She, on first impression, she seems to be like a trans woman. She has a blonde wig, fancy makeup, and she's very sexual in her performance. And she's also even from this early performance, I'd say she's very jealous on the stage, right? She rips out the microphone of
Yitzhak.
what's the actress's name?
Yitzhak?
Yeah.
Yitzhak, there you go.
Yitzhak. Yeah. So it's some insecurities right away, but very much the center of attention at all times in this Chili's that she's performing in, or whatever it is.
Yes. And we see Hedwig performing at very small venues throughout the movie. There's a lot of that. It's actually, and I only caught this recently, it's a restaurant chain that Hedwig tours at throughout the country as she follows Tommy. It's called Bilgewater's. So some made-up restaurant. But yeah, it's basically like a Chili's or a seafood restaurant. Audience seems pretty annoyed by Hedwig. Do they not, Brett?
Most of them. Some of them just seem to love it, but yeah, most of them are. That's some of the funniest parts in the movie to me. Early on, and the people are plugging their ears and just completely turned off. Just because it's loud. I mean, it's loud. It's not the type of music those old fogies want to listen to while they're eating their $8 shrimp platter or whatever they're eating.
It's very much like a drag queen show. Have you guys ever been to that? That's not an Indiana thing, is it?
I mean, I've never been to one. I'm sure there are drag shows all over the state, I guess.
It's very much like this, where they're in your face. It's very fun, except, you know, like we said, a lot of the people in the audience here aren't necessarily having fun.
Yeah, I just hope whoever hired them for this, like, cross the Midwest or whatever it is tour lost their job. It's like, it's our 50th anniversary, Harold. Let's go down to the Bridgewater. And it's just this, like, punk band playing in their face. It's like, all things aside, it just seems like totally inappropriate for the
In
venue.
Wikipedia, it says that it's a failing seafood restaurant chain, so maybe they're just trying to... Either they don't care or they're trying to drum up business in a really bad way, I guess.
But isn't she following Tommy Gnosis or whatever it is? Like, isn't she, like, stalking him a lot?
Yeah.
Like, is she just playing whatever town has that restaurant? That's what she plays
It
at?
says those restaurants or smaller venues, so I don't know if it's always Bilgewater.
That makes sense.
One of the things I love about Hedwig is that she does these little stand-up bits in between music sets.
Ladies and gentlemen, do you like the pelt? I want you to be honest, because some bitch stopped me on the way in. What poor unfortunate creature had to die for you to wear that? My Aunt Trudy, I replied. Just walked away. Just walked away, ladies and gentlemen. What?
Can we disable
Yes, you can. Yeah. I am thrilled you could join me for the fabulous first night of the St. Louis leg of my world tour. And when it comes to huge openings, a lot of people think of me.
There's something about... I feel like bad about myself, and I got to be careful here, but, like, I got to be honest. When she is on stage, I was eating some shrimp fried rice, too, that I had made myself while I was watching this, using my little chopsticks. Started talking about botched surgery and, like...
Sex change operation got botched. My guardian angel fell asleep on the watch. Now all I've got is a Bobby dog crotch. I've got an angry inch.
In the movie, it makes a guy explode and say the F word, and a huge fight ensues. So, like, I felt I felt bad for, like, kind of being grossed out at that point, but I don't know, guys.
Dude, talking about getting a botched penis cut off is nothing. You're not ripping on transgender stuff. It's gross. Like, when you're eating, it has nothing to do with, in my opinion. I'm absolving you if you will take my absolution.
I mean, if I'm eating, I don't want to hear about surgery.
Right, that's what I'm saying. You don't have to feel bad about it.
I don't really want to hear about genitalia, and I certainly don't want to hear about genitalia surgery. Botched.
Yeah, long story short, when I woke up from the operation, I was bleeding down there. I was bleeding from a gash between my legs. It's my first day as a woman. Already it's that time of the month. But 2 days later, the hole closed up. The wound healed, and I was left with a 1-inch mound of flesh. When my penis used to be, well, my vagina never was. It was a 1-inch mound of flesh with a scar running down it like a sideways grimace on an eyeless face. It was just a little buzz. It wasn't angry, 6 inches ball.
Josh has come to seek absolution from the staunchers. That's where you...
Oh, Josh K. Rowling.
We forgive you, my son. This movie is a lot of Hedwig performing with the band, the Angry Inch, but it's also intercut with flashbacks a lot, which serve to tell the full story of where Hedwig is now and how she got there, etc., etc. So I think we should go through some of Hedwig's early history to kind of set things up. I know this isn't exactly in order of the way the movie tells things, but I figure we can go this direction. Stevie, maybe you can tell us about Hedwig before she was Hedwig, when she was just a young boy named Hansel.
Oh, Hansel.
Hansel.
Hansel grew up, I imagine, if I remember correctly, the eastern bloc of Germany, which was the fun side of the wall after it was put up.
The fun side?
Yeah, it looked like the real fun side. It's not funny, but I mean, there's something humorous about it when... I forget exactly what the words were, but Hedwig said something really off the cuff, like people like were walking over to the western side if they could, and they show people jumping out of buildings and like getting shot trying to get through the wall. Like, I know it's not funny, but that part kind of made me laugh. But yeah, it was Hansel and his mom, and Hansel didn't seem like he had the greatest childhood, but one of the great escapisms for him was rock, especially of those who were a tad androgynous or had some gender fluidity to them. And they lived in this tiny apartment, and he would listen to his music in the stove. And I thought it was gross, but I know other people don't. But when his mom was I don't know if it was peaches or oranges, but when he was like just covered in it, I was like, that's just disgusting. Especially when he ate it after it was already thrown at him.
You forgot to mention that he, as a young boy, used to watch a TV show on a little tiny TV called Jesus is Good.
Jesus is Good.
There's like a lot of this like weird, absurd comedy in this movie that it just works for me so well.
But it's also like juxtaposed against like all of these tragedies that are happening in his life. Like he's like molested by his dad, which is like, well, like I have a problem with that scene only from the perspective of like the way that the information is presented. Like I was just super confused the first time I watched it because they show them laying in bed normally, and then like Stevie says, this East German tiny apartment, they only have one bed, and then the next instant, the mom's like freaking out on him like for molesting him. I was just like confused for like a split second. You know what I mean? Like, did that actually happen?
Right.
Like, and then that was taking.
Yeah, I think it was implied.
Yeah, it was. It definitely was for sure. But that just took me out of the movie. You know what I mean? Because I'm like confused at that point. Like, wait, what just happened there? That was my only complaint. With that.
I might just be a simpleton, but I thought because it was delivered to us in a vague manner that it was meant to be vague. Like maybe the mom didn't know, but she suspected.
She certainly slapped the hell out of that dude for just suspecting. Seems like she caught him in the act, and they just cut to her slapping him in the face and punching him.
You might be right. Again, I'm probably just being a simpleton.
That's a tough scene, though.
This movie has a lot of ambiguity. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know.
Yeah, I think ambiguity in general is pretty prevalent throughout the movie. Josh, when Hansel is a young man, he's doing something kind of strange here, but he meets someone that impacts his life in a big way. He's sunbathing naked in a bomb crater, and he meets Sergeant Luther Robinson, and he receives un Gummibärchen, as he puts it.
Girl, I sure don't mean to annoy you. My name is Sergeant Luther Robinson.
My name is Hansel. Luther is silent for a moment as he stares at my little bishop in a turtleneck.
Hansel. Well, you must like candy.
I like Gummibärchen.
Josh, if you were offered, would you have taken candy from this man?
Good question.
There's a lot of euphemisms going on around this time in the movie, and so I'm gonna just say no, I guess. Probably not.
The taste is completely different from a Gummibär, yet somehow familiar. It's much sweeter than a Gummibär. Wow. And softer, too. I feel so optimistic. I suddenly recognize the flavor in my mouth. It's the taste of power.
Damn, Hansel. I can't believe you're not a girl. You're so fine. Why don't you take the whole bag?
What do you think that means, Korey? Like, what does that gummy mean?
Cummy?
It's a sugar daddy, man.
Yeah. Did Stevie mention how like Hansel's mom took him east when everyone else was going west? Like, so he's in this like strict area of East Berlin, and he's able to get married to this sugar daddy, and it's kind of his ticket out, right? This is how he gets to the States and becomes Hedwig and everything. Is that he gets attached to this army man who's stationed around, and this also leads to him getting his surgery that was aforementioned, because in order to get I can't believe they would do this, but in order to get married, you had to have a full body search to make sure you were a woman. So,
But I gotta marry you here in East Berlin. And that means a full physical examination.
Well, let's see right away that I have a...
Oh, baby. To walk away, you gotta leave something behind.
To be free, one must give up a little part of oneself. And I know just the doctor to take it.
Communism, Josh.
yeah, that's crazy, man. So he had a surgery.
Is that the way communism works?
Yeah, it's the number one. It's Karl Marx's number one rule of the Communist Manifesto is full body cavity searches.
In fact, I think that's the only thing in the book.
Didn't like Harvard or Yale used to take naked pictures of all their incoming freshmen back in the day too? Something weird like
Probably,
that.
but God, I hope not. Probably though.
What?
Never heard that.
Yeah, they did. Look it up. Put it in the show notes.
I'm looking it up right now. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Josh, this seems to make you a tad uncomfortable.
What's that?
This movie.
This movie and this area of the movie particularly.
Man, yeah, it does, man.
I have a question for you, Kylo, about this part.
Okay.
Like, I saw John Cameron Mitchell say Hedwig is not really a trans story. And I didn't read the article. I literally just read the Hollywood Reporter headline. So I have no idea like what he meant by that. But I don't know. What do you think about that? Because it's not her choice to get the surgery, really. It seems that way. And like, it obviously doesn't go well and everything.
Yeah, this is not a topic that I'm super like fluent in, like gender politics and stuff like that.
Fluid in.
Except for this and It's Pat are your favorite movies.
Yeah, what are you talking about? You only pick movies that deal with gender.
I pick movies that deal with gender,
He loved Jack and Jill.
but in my personal life, I don't know that much about them because all I have to guide me are these movies. No, but to answer your question, I did see that as well. I started to understand it a little bit more as I absorbed further Hedwig media in researching for this podcast. Hedwig, as a character, started out as, I think I mentioned this earlier actually, on like the drag stage. And that was just kind of to test out the character of Hedwig before they created the musical and everything.
So I was watching these people find their voice, very excited, and Steven said, well, you should do a gig here, but you could only do the character that became Hedwig. You could only do the woman because it's a drag club.
I'm working on a this drag character named Hedwig, and I was wondering if I could come in and do a performance. It was amazing. I mean, considering what was done at Squeezebox, which was most of the time drag queens coming in doing covers, Hedwig came in with not only rock and roll, but this incredible story about who this person was on stage.
I bet you're wondering how some girly boy named Hans from communist East Germany became the stunning creature barely standing before you.
After I learned that, I kind of understood a little bit better. It's not necessarily a man becoming a woman necessarily, but a man becoming something that is neither man nor woman. That's the way I look at it. And I'm probably wrong. There's probably more scholarly folk out there on the topic of this movie, but that's how I take it. Stevie, you're a smart guy. Do you have any input on that?
I'll say this. When it comes to this movie, I am the wrong person to ask anything about subtext. I was just really digging this movie for the atmosphere and the music, and I only watched it the one time, so if I watched it a second time, I probably could understand it more. But I am the wrong person to ask that question.
I have some input there because I think my favorite parts of the movie are probably the cartoon stuff. And there's this whole backstory about how man was created and there was like 3 types of humans. 2 men glued to each other, 2 women glued to each other, and a man and a woman glued to each other. So I feel like you are kind of right. Like Hedwig's putting himself in that third category of this like man-woman split or something. Maybe?
Yeah. That's introduced during the song The Origin of Love. The guy that did the music for this, that was the first song he wrote, and it's based on some Plato book or something like that.
Symposium.
But I think it is kind of like in the theming of the movie, because we see Hedwig basically talking about and actually seeking out what she refers to as her other half. So it's kind of like the search for love to kind of complete yourself.
It is clear that I must find my other half. But is it a he or a she? What does this person look like? Identical to me? Or somehow complementary? Does my other half have what I don't? Did he get the looks, the luck, the love? Were we really separated forcibly, or did he just run off with the good stuff? Or did I? Will this person embarrass me? What about sex? Is that how we put ourselves back together again? Or can two people actually become one again?
Which ultimately is not the way that she goes, right?
Right.
Walks around the streets naked. That's the way she goes.
Here she goes, boys.
I've got a sweet tooth, the licorice drops and jelly rolls. Hey, sugar daddy, Hansel needs some sugar in his bowl. I'll lay out fine shine on the linen and polish up the chrome. If you've got some sugar for me, sugar daddy, bring it home.
Brett, what did you think of the music? We were talking about the Sugar Daddy, and that's kind of intercut with like a somewhat countryish song called Sugar Daddy. And I really like how they do like the story mixed in with the music, and then sometimes the music just tells the story. But what do you think about the music as a whole? Or were there any particular songs you liked?
I thought the music was really good. That was the stories, the way it was set up was really cool. Kind of giving some context at the beginning, a little bit of a preamble, and then the song. I thought the music was really good. I think John Cameron Mitchell, not Hedwig. So I think he's super talented. He's got a really, really cool voice.
It's the sweetest taste I've known. Oh yeah. If you got some sugar, bring it home.
Yeah, no, it was probably the best part of the movie, at least. I mean, it was just really cool. I like how the whole movie was set up, to be honest with you. But yeah, they could rock it for sure. So.
Is that the part where she puts her like stringy mini skirt in the old man's face and goes car wash and swings it back and forth?
That's Korey. That's homage to the stage show, correct?
That's right. So in a documentary of that I watched, John was saying how there was like a certain seat in the stage that they performed on that he would like walk up to and do that to whoever was sitting in that seat. And he always wore a skirt that was kind of like stringy to do the car wash effect. But yeah.
Funnily enough, when they redid it, I believe it's actually on Broadway with Neil Patrick Harris playing Hedwig. He actually did that to Orlando Bloom.
That's awesome.
Yeah, because they call that like the celebrity seat.
What do your elven eyes see?
A car wash.
A 1-incher. I love it. That's awesome.
Look what you've done. You gigolo.
As the movie kind of goes and we see Hedwig and the band and they're touring and they're interacting, we do get some more flashbacks that tell the story of Tommy. Pappy, maybe you can tell us about how Tommy and Hedwig meet and kind of where that leads them.
Yeah, and I'm really mad that you came to me for this, because I was thinking, like, going into this, I would be super hypocritical if I didn't, rip this movie in the same way that I ripped Mallrats several years ago. Like, Tommy's jerking off in a tub. She is a babysitter at the time. The movie goes out of its way to tell us that Tommy is 17. She goes in, finishes him off, as it were, and then, like, tosses her card at him. My biggest problem with, like, on Mallrats was that it was, a sexual assault, basically, sex with an underage person played for a joke. It's kind of the same thing here, right, Josh? I know I gave you a lot of shit for that, and I even brought it up on Swords and Shields. I feel bad about it now.
Consistency, Pappy. You're all about consistency.
That's me. I am the most consistent person on this podcast. Everyone says so.
I thought Tommy Gnosis was actually 14 at that time, so it was even worse.
No, Tommy was 17, which is the age of consent in Kansas, which is where they were.
Really towed that line, didn't they?
But you used the word consent, which was not given, really. So, just to help Pappy out there.
Not only that was consent not given. I mean, Hedwig is 30 at this point. Even if Tommy was 18, it's inappropriate to jerk off someone in high school or have a sexual relationship if you're 30 and they're still in high school living with their parents. Especially,
who are you to judge that?
As an authority figure in the house, I don't know. I'm Mr. Consistency. That's what I am. I call him like I see him.
So you did not like the handjob scene, I take it.
I don't like that it's... Listen, I also consumed a lot of, like, Hedwig media, like, going into this, because I was, like, pretty interested in the backstory of the show and, like, how it came together, because the first time I watched this, I was just totally overwhelmed. Like, what the fuck did I just watch? And consistently in reviews, I hear this really disingenuous thing where people are like, oh, it's the cycle of trauma or the cycle of abuse repeating itself. That is not how the film is treating this at all. It is not treating it like a serious abuse. Like you said, it's treating it like someone who is of age, and then it's like giving this person like a hand job as a joke. Is it sex with an underage person like Mallrats? No, but would they make this choice in 2021? I'm 1,000% sure they would not. Am I offended by it? That's, I guess, a different topic, but it's definitely of its time, I would say.
Okay. You want to know about Tommy Gnosis? Yeah! Okay, I'll tell you about Tommy Gnosis. After my divorce, I scraped by with babysitting gigs and odd jobs, mostly the jobs we call blow. I had lost my job at the base PX, and I had lost my gag reflex. You do the math. I sat for the baby of General Speck, He was the commander of the nearby army fort, and his other son was, the artist formerly known as my butt boy. We're talking about Tommy Speck at this time. Tommy Speck was a 17-year-old classic rock-loving, Dungeons and Dragons obsessed Jesus freak with a fish on his truck. I found him incredibly hot.
What do you think, Stevie? You hopped on the Mallrats train too, if I remember correctly.
Honestly, I just hate Mallrats. Not because of that reason. I just think it's a really unfunny movie.
Well, didn't you guys watch like the extended version, which
no,
is
Mikey
like,
did.
Cut weird?
Mikey did. No, I just don't like Kevin Smith humor all that much. But yeah, I do think the age thing is weird, and I don't think it would play well today at all.
They just wouldn't do that. 100%,
they wouldn't do that 100%. It is. I think it also detracts from the story quite a bit. It's not a great look. That part of this movie did not age well at all.
I do like, though, with Tommy Gnosis, when he is giving his take on some Bible verses, he seems to be pretty far off any good interpretations I've ever heard.
Have you accepted Jesus Christ as your personal Lord and Savior? No, but I love his work. You know, what he was saving us from was his fucking father. I mean, what kind of God creates Adam in his image and then pulls Eve out of him to keep him company and then tells him not to eat from the tree of knowledge? I mean, he was so micromanaging. And so was Adam. But Eve just wanted to know shit. She took a bite of the apple, and she found out what was good and what was evil. And then she gave it to Adam, so he would know, because they were in love. And that was good. They now knew.
But it's funny to hear him talk about like Adam and Eve, and he seems to be like really taking that stuff seriously. Like he's really divided between like this rock and roll life and some sort of like Christian, very straightforward upbringing, I feel like. Well, Korey, they are in Kansas, right? So he's probably from a pretty conservative town, right?
Right, safe to say.
Kickapoo. Thank you, Korey.
Yeah, it was a long ass fucking time ago. But I guess no one else has seen that. All right.
I can't believe Stevie hasn't seen that.
What's that?
Pick a Destiny, Tenacious D.
Actually, I've seen it, but I haven't seen it in years, though.
Oh, it's a Kickapoo song.
I've seen that too. I have no idea what you're talking about.
All right, go ahead. Sorry. Thank you, Korey. Thank you.
Since you've joined us again, you can kind of fill us in more on the Tommy and Hedwig backstory. Like, there's some conflict there, and it's kind of, I'd say, the main focus of the story.
They became friends and like muses of each other and writing partners. And the worst thing that she did to him wasn't that handy. It was that he was already listening to good music, and she told him to listen to worse music.
No.
I said it. Screw
fired
Lou
at
Reed.
David Bowie.
So yeah, they have a nice little thing going on. They're writing cool songs. She kind of, I'll use this word even though it's not exactly what I mean, but she's kind of grooming him, which can mean a lot worse. And he kind of falls in love with her-ish, but she makes a comment that he's never like kissed her, and I mean, I think he would put a bag over her head when they're being intimate if he could get away with it. It's kind of like and I know it sounds harsh, I just meant that's kind of what it's implied. Like, if when they are intimate, it's usually one position. Let's just say they're not looking in each other's eyes. So they kind of finally start to do some really weird scene about breathe into my mouth. Not breathe into my mouth, because that's an album and a song, but yeah, and then he reaches his hand down there, which apparently he's never felt before, and it gets really weird, and that's kind of the end of their relationship.
Doesn't she scream at him, "Love me in the front," or "Love my front side," or something like that?
Love me in the front, yeah. Oh, God.
I'm such a fucking sissy. You are such a sissy. What are you afraid of, huh? What are you afraid of? What? I love you. I love you. The love the front took me, honey. Love the...
That's what makes me uncomfortable in this movie. It's not if she is trans or is gay or whatever. It's just pointing out the botched small wiener, making me think about a little cut up weenie all the time. Like,
pound of
they
flesh.
go out of their way so many times in this movie.
But it's kind of the thing about, I mean, her life. Pappy kind of mentioned it earlier, like whether she's gay or trans or whatever. It's kind of like she was pushed into that way, kind of. I mean, I would say he was definitely gay early on, and then kind of embraced the female, and he was just confused about the rest of the time. I'm jumping back and forth, but yeah, it was super uncomfortable at times. But
it is a tragedy, though. You're right, because I feel like his mom kind of forced him to do it, and he is very young.
Yeah, she didn't help her out. Yeah, and she loved the guy, and when you're maybe feeling like you're not in the right body or whatever, for someone to love you, and regardless of how weird he was, just it all happened super fast too. I mean, it was like literally within a day, right? Like, you got to go do this tomorrow. So, yeah, it's tragic, but yeah, she likes to bring attention to it.
Right. Now, Josh, I can see that you're not the biggest fan of the Angry Inch itself, but this whole section kind of like bleeds into the Angry Inch song that Hedwig performs, the main song of the movie. Are you into the song?
Not really. I don't really like musicals, man.
6 inches forward and 5 inches back. Come together.
Get it,
as I-
Brett. Just jam.
Oh, wait, no. I was singing Paul Abdul.
I will say I enjoyed the formulaic kind of each performance dissolving into a different type of chaos. That's pretty fun. The music itself, I will say I enjoyed thinking about songs that those songs like reminded me of, because they take a lot from classic rock, and I think they're well done. I'm just not super into the music scenes. I thought those cartoons were the best part, Corey.
Cool, Kylo, here's what I did. Here's how dedicated I am to a Kylo Ren host. I watched the movie, then I listened to the whole album, then I watched the movie again. And I'll say this, like, I like the songs way more when I'm not trying to interpret, like, these abstract cartoons that are on the screen and decipher, like, okay, what is the origin of love again? Like, when you can just, like, listen to the music, I thought it was, like, way more enjoyable. I was jamming. Like, some of them are going to make it to my main playlist for sure.
Pappy?
Chill Pappy.
I could see 6 inches forward, 5 inches back on there. Yeah, Chill Pappy's more of like, what's the song at the end?
Midnight Radio.
That could like make some Chill Pappy appearances.
I had recently returned to my first love of music. I had tried singing once. Back in Berlin, they threw tomatoes. After the show, I had a nice salad. But newly motivated, I got myself a cheap electric piano, and I found a couple of Korean sergeants' wives who churned out a mean rhythm section.
One of the songs that plays during the part where Hedwig and Tommy kind of start getting together for the first time is Wicked Little Town, which is it's like a piano ballad that he plays in a donut shop, or that she plays, in a donut shop with the Korean sergeants' wives.
Right.
The sun is in your eyes. Hurricanes and rain, black and cloudy skies. Running up and down the hill, we turn it on and off at will. There's nothing here to thrill or you down. And if you've got no other choice, you know you can follow my voice through the dark turns and noise of this wicked little town.
That song is my jam right there. And I really like that whole bit. It's like when Hedwig first is trying to get a name for herself in music, and she just kind of puts together this like ragtag group of randos, and they fucking play in donut shops. And Hedwig's been like turning tricks all over town, so like all the guys that are there are smiling at her. It's pretty funny. Pappy, I did see your Letterboxd review, and I saw that you had some issues with Wig in a Box, which is one of the songs that comes up kind of as Tommy leaves Hedwig to go do his own thing. Wig in a Box, I think, is just like a great music video. It's almost like they just wanted to make a self-contained music video, in my opinion. Was it just like the sing-along part of it that you were having issues with?
You know, like I said, the first time I'm watching this movie, I went in totally cold. So it was at this point, I'm like, oh, this wants to be Rocky Picture Show, for sure. Like, this wants to have a cult following. Like, it has all this, like, many similar elements. Like, that's what it aspires to be. And, like, yeah, like, literally, when I first saw like the words on screen, I did cringe a little bit. But then I had heard in like my subsequent research that was even part of like the original stage show, is that they would get a fucking like projector, and at the testicle sack would be like, he'd say follow the bouncing balls, and they would like go, the testicle sack would like go over the words. And like when I heard that, I'm like, okay, that's pretty funny actually. That's Pappy humor. So I hated it less the second time.
Fair enough.
Yeah, does Hedwig have a ball sack?
Where else would her pee be stored?
Pee is stored in the brain.
Oh.
Stevie, things kind of like slowly get worse for Hedwig as she starts to follow and stalk Tommy more and more, and starts to have problems with the band and Yitzhak or Yitzka. I wrote down both, so fuck it. Maybe you can kind of expand on how things are going there.
So, yeah, things aren't going great. Hedwig is on his stalker tour, and her manager is kind of enabling her to say, no, we're going to get this great lawsuit because Tommy, what's his name again? Gnosis?
Yeah, that's what he changes his name to.
Stage name Tommy Gnosis. We have this great lawsuit because he's, the hot shit in music right now, and you're the reason for all his success. And there is kind of a humorous scene when they try to charge like his kind of like release or album party or whatever. And I thought that was really funny. When they tried to storm it and the security guys had no issues with them whatsoever, and her manager just looks at her and goes, okay, maybe that wasn't the right thing to do. Kind of a regrouping point. But Hedwig, getting close to the end, like, is not a great person at all. Like, is it Yitzka or Yitzhak?
Yitzhak.
There it is.
Yitzhak? Okay. When he, lands that part for Rent and saying, I'm going to go on and do great big things. I'm going to leave you behind. I want a divorce, which I had no clue they were even married. But when Hedwig rips up his passport, it's kind of one of those things where everyone's just kind of stunned. And even her manager, who's been enabling her through this ridiculous lawsuit the entire time, is like, no, I'm out. Like, that's one step too far.
Yeah. And as a quick funny side note, her name is Phyllis Stein.
I make lamb from My Big Fat Greek Wedding, Andrea Martin. Yeah.
I think I didn't realize it at the time, but it's pretty messed up. Hedwig was openly going on this stalker tour while married to Yitzhak, and like, that's a pretty messed up thing to do. Like, you hit the nail on the head. Hedwig sucks at this point in the movie.
Like, she's holding, like, not only just another person's passport hostage, like her husband's passport hostage. That's like just such an insanely cruel thing to do. And like, okay, is Yitzhak supposed to be a cis man? Is that like a thing?
No. That's a real woman.
Right, for sure. But they're married?
I did not mean that. I did not mean real in that way.
No, we got it. We know.
A cis woman. It's played by a cis woman. But Kyla, is that supposed to be a cis man? I'm very confused by that. Because that's what people were saying when I started looking stuff up. I'm like, no way.
I thought it was supposed to be a cis man.
I thought it was supposed to be a trans man, but I don't know for sure.
I mean, she played her in Broadway too, so she played my husband. She's supposed to be a cis male, if that's what you want to say, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The only reason I say I think it's a trans man is because there is a deleted scene for the movie where they meet and Yitzhak appears to be a woman at that point and basically says, will you marry me so I can leave this country? And I know it's a deleted scene, so it doesn't count, but it kind of gives the idea that, like, they're only really together because of that, like, just so that Yitzhak could leave Croatia, which is where they met in the deleted scene.
But Yitzhak's triumphant moment at the end is putting on the blonde wig and being like a female exalted in the audience, right? So that's even more confusing. And I think a lot of this is ambiguous and confusing and Pat-esque.
I think it is ambiguous and confusing. I don't think it's very much like It's Pat at all.
I think they're the exact same movie, actually.
I might not be, smart enough to see that, so you'll have to forgive me. I think Yitzhak's biggest problem with Hedwig, outside of the whole passport thing, is like wanting to, I think, be in the limelight and being denied that. Like, that's kind of where the animosity leading up to that point comes from, right? Were you guys kind of picking up on that?
Yeah.
Like Hedwig unplugging the mic and stuff?
I'm just reading about the story on the actual off-Broadway. There's a lot more about Yitzhak on here, a lot more jealousy by Hedwig because of apparently Yitzhak's more talented. And they said they purposely got a female actress to blur the gender lines even more. It sounds like they bitterly resent each other, but they're also codependent with each other. So that's kind of like that. It just seems a little meaner. Oh no, it says unhealthy codependent relationship. So.
Kyle, you're a big Rent guy. Would she have been good in the part, or he?
I think so. However, I am always annoyed when I see the insert shot of the Rent flyer because they get one of the character descriptions wrong, which is just so strange to me that they got it wrong. It would have been so easy. Collins, who is one of the characters, is described as an aspiring musician, but that's not Collins, that's Roger. So they just mixed up that one note. It's kind of an annoying thing for a Rent fan. But to get back in the story, Josh, maybe you can tell us about how Hedwig again meets up with Tommy, and it kind of seems like things are going to work out. It's like Hedwig's going to maybe reunite with Tommy as she wants, but it doesn't really work out, does it?
I don't know. It kind of actually does work out. So she hits rock bottom after tearing up this passport. The band and the manager, everyone leaves her, and the person she's been stalking comes and picks her up. And the reason I say she's at rock bottom, I guess, is because she's like the only job she has, again, is prostitution, right? Like, she's on the street for money because she has nothing. And a limousine pulls up, and lo and behold, it's Tommy Gnosis. And they start driving drunk together in this limousine and like making out and stuff, and they get in a wreck. And then it cuts to this like montage of newspapers. And I guess how it plays out is that Tommy Gnosis, once this story came to light, just denied that he really knew anything about Hedwig. But then Hedwig rises to fame on like the New York scene because of how fun she seems. So she does kind of, it's almost like the guy from Office Space that gets like paralyzed, but then he gets like all the work benefits, workman's comp. You know what I'm talking about, Brett?
Yeah,
He's
I'm trying to remember his name. Fuck. I know the guy, though.
Yeah, the jump to conclusions guy. Like, he's paralyzed, but he's like, someday maybe you'll get as lucky as me, Peter. So maybe someday you'll get hit by a car and become famous in New York, like Hedwig.
Right. Hedwig gets all, like, now the public notoriety that she's kind of been seeking. There's a quick moment that shows Hedwig on the Rosie O'Donnell, like, talk show that used to be a thing back in the day. Well, Hedwig was actually on that show a couple years before, so they just kind of used a small, like, real clip of that, which is kind of a neat thing. I actually watched that earlier today. Pappy, maybe you can kind of lead us into the end of this, though. There's 3 songs at the end, and I want to kind of get your interpretation. What starts to occur at the end? Like I mentioned, there's 3 songs that go on, and I think some of these are kind of more symbolic than others.
On the other side of a town ripped in two, and no matter how hard I try, I end up black and blue. I rose from off of the dark.
Yeah, the first one, I don't know. Can you name me the name of the song?
I believe it's Exquisite Corpse, which is like the punk rock song.
Yeah, punk rock song, which makes a lot of sense too, because she's talking about pieces of herself that she has given along the way, and it's kind of a good, recap of the movie where she's talking about, her dad and her man and her mom and all that stuff.
I gave a piece to my mother. I gave a piece to my man. I gave a piece to the rock star. He took the good stuff and ran.
And then kind of symbolically, she's like ripping off all of her clothes too, and she's got this kind of like bubble wrap outfit on, which she even tears off that. And as she's talking about kind of like rebuilding herself or becoming whole, and it's like, you know, hardcore punk rock, like high anger intensity song. It starts off really slow. She's ripping off her clothes at this point and smashing the tomatoes, which she was using for breasts, which we had talked about earlier in the movie, or like her mom threw at her. And I don't know, this is where I could kind of see where it's not where John Cameron Mitchell says it's not necessarily a transgender movie, because it's almost like we'll stay with she's not even, you know, like a woman anymore at this point. She's becoming something else, right? Like she's rejecting all of these.
She's got like her other half back.
Yeah, makeup is smeared, wig is off. She gave it to Yetzel, like
Yetzel.
Yentl.
Yentl.
Yenta.
Yeah.
And Stevie, this somewhat transformed Hedwig, kind of confronts Tommy. It's basically a musical performance, but what were you kind of getting from that? I mean, I'll give my interpretation as well, but I wanted to see where you're coming from.
Forgive me for I did not know. 'Cause I was just a boy, you were so much more. Than any god could ever plan, more than a woman or a man.
Once again, wrong person for subtext.
You got this, Stevie. It's a Stevie question.
Wrong person for subtext. I did enjoy these like scenes though, especially when Hedwig is, like you guys mentioned, becoming just something else other than fully embracing man or fully embracing woman. Just kind of something on his or her own plane. But I really liked the kind of, I guess you could say, cinematography or how cinematic this movie is. I thought the camera work was absolutely incredible throughout these scenes, especially when it was cutting between like Tommy, then to Hedwig. But as far as the subtext goes, wrong person.
I have no idea what it means, but there's almost like this like angel devil look to it, right? Where Hedwig is all red and Tommy's now like all white, and he has like this cross and stuff. Like I no idea what I'm supposed to think about that, but that's what I was thinking of when I saw it.
Yeah.
I think actually Wikipedia's got a really nice little sum up for it in my mind. I can read it if you'd like.
Yeah. Let's see if it's close to what I was thinking. I think it's it's pretty evident. It seems like the split between the two of them, like they're
right.
I think it's all. I mean, the first two words are "forgive me," if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it says like it takes place in like a non-real space. Maybe in her mind, it says now in male form, Hedwig discovers herself alone in front of Tommy on a huge stage. Tommy sings to Hedwig, pleading forgiveness and saying goodbye. She realizes that she created her other half from within herself.
You know you can follow my voice through the dark turns and noise of this wicked little town. It's a wicked.
So that's like the whole point of the movie. And then when you go back, it's like the same Times Square thing, but it's just completely white. It's just everything's different. So I don't know if that's her being pure again, or let's go to Stevie for subtext on that.
Well, Tommy Gnosis is using the Jesus fish now. It's a symbol, so
Good for him.
that says something. Yeah.
Jesus character confirmed.
Jesus character is the cartoon.
That takes us to pretty much the end, I think, with the last song, Midnight Radio. We talked about it a little bit earlier. Brett was describing it. Hedwig is no longer the version of Hedwig that we knew. Everyone's all white. I think this is also one of those things that's maybe not really occurring, but it's kind of just like a come to terms with everything that's happened moment.
The dream of a song that hits you so hard. Feeling wrong, and suddenly you're gone.
Josh, give me something, man.
Oh, so in this last performance, Hedwig doesn't stop with just taking her tomato breasts out, but she strips all the way down. She's some combination of man and woman, and she walks naked as if she's a newborn person out into the streets, down a canal, to be rebirthed into society as something else.
Why is it spooky?
Snarky. That was snark, not spook.
Into something else.
It is snarky, but the scene is like a little spooky. The alleyway is like dark, and I would hate to be barefoot in a place like that. It looks terrifying.
Forget barefoot, he's bare ass.
Yeah, he steps in the puddle too.
Definitely got those worms that you get from stepping in the puddle there. Doesn't care.
Oh yeah. I like that scene, Corey. I like the scene. I know they mentioned it a few minutes earlier, but where Hedwig gives the wig to Yahtzee, and then Yahtzee tries to put it back on her head, but then he turns into female Yahtzee, and it's just really good. I like that.
Right. I like the satisfaction of Yitzhak getting the, I guess, like the maybe fame or at least the appreciation from the crowd that he's been looking for, which is like kind of nice because outside of the Wig in a Box music video, Yitzhak is like pretty miserable a lot in the movie.
Yeah.
So it's good to see that like relief. Man, it's a tough crowd tonight. Do you guys have any final thoughts about Hedwig before we do our wrap-up?
Can I say something in terms of critical commentary for this last part?
Yeah, feel free.
The whole movie is very dreamlike and ethereal and ambiguous, like we've talked about. And I think that works really well for the flashbacks, just in the nature of, like, you know, it's memory, right? Memory is that way. It's not as concrete. This last, like, wrap-up for the story, though, I don't know, man. I don't know if I liked it. It was very rushed. Like, things are happening. I'm talking about, like, from, like, the time she gets in the car accident even. Like, why is the limo driver not there? Like, what is she playing New Year's Eve? Like, what is this concert? Like, what is happening? Like, I don't know. Like, we're all sitting here, none of us can come up with any, like, deeper symbolic meaning for it. And I don't know if that's, like, a good thing. Right?
In her head?
Like, we're all just kind of like, oh, it's weird. So you're saying it didn't happen? Like, none of this happened?
It's kind of what I got from it.
I thought it happened, but
there we go.
I don't know.
Okay.
I mean,
so it's all a dream?
If you're really looking at it, I honestly think this latter part was pretty close to being pretty much in Hedwig's head.
Starting from when?
The moment that, like, she's, like, prostituting on the street and it's almost kind of this fairy tale, like if only Tommy Gnosis was here, and Tommy Gnosis got here, and we could ride off, and if we got drunk, we got in an accident, Tommy would make up some dumb excuse, and I would be famous now, and if I was famous now, then people would be happier around me, and I would be happier. Like that's more so of, like right when Hedwig couldn't even afford to pay for pizza, and Hedwig was prostituting, is pretty much where the In the Head starts in my mind.
Why is Tommy Gnosis even there? You know what I mean? It's just so rushed and weird. I don't.
Well, exactly. That's where it kind of like this knight in shining armor rolls up for like a Cinderella story.
But they're. I mean, I know New York's huge, but they are in the same city, so I mean, wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world.
That's not like they were in Mayberry, though, Brett. There's 10 million people. Like, I mean, it's massive. The chances of that happening, and I mean, I don't think they were using iPhones or cell phones heavily when this movie's supposed to be taking place. I just think it's more so in Hedwig's head.
Yeah, but Harry and Marv ran into Kevin McAllister multiple times in New York, and the same woman that he slapped her butt. So if that can happen,
it's
then
Home Alone
this can
rules.
happen.
It explains everything.
Home Alone rules.
I feel like I was the lone voice on another old spoilers movie, since we're tossing back to old movies. But like in Brigsby Bear, there's a point where it seems like Kyle Mooney is just like in pure fantasy world. And I forget if it was you, Stevie, or Pappy. You guys really wanted to hold on to like it being a true story.
Well,
it was your take is insane, Josh. It was 100% a true story. Everyone thinks it's a true story. I've never heard anyone say that before or since about Brigsby Bear.
Josh thought it was a critical hit piece about why you shouldn't be into fandom.
It was so strange.
It was a strange take for Brigsby Bear.
Anyway, Josh, you were saying.
No, I just think Brigsby Bear is kind of made up in his head after a certain point, in a very similar fashion. But
well, do you think this was made up? Is Stevie the only one who thinks?
I think what he's saying is it makes sense, but I didn't get that sense like in my first and only watch of the movie. A lot of this movie feels like it could be made up, I guess. Like,
right. Like the energy of this movie and like the editing styles that are used are very like 2000s music video-ish, where I think things could be potentially exaggerated or in some cases symbolic for Hedwig's journey. I mean, Pappy talked about that in the flashbacks, but I don't think it's necessarily limited to that.
My only other final thought was this is somehow the second podcast in a row featuring a character from the TV show Girls, where we talked about transgender issues. We talked about that on the last episode, The Possessor, which is just, I don't know what I'm going to pick next. I got to find something very niche, though, after I win this trivia.
Oh, yeah. Cocky boy.
All right, so that means it's time for yes and no's. Let's go around and hear these no's. Brett, you're first.
I'm always first. First or last. Yeah, this is a yes for me. I enjoyed this, so.
Thank you.
I liked the story structure. I like the preamble, song, flashback, move, repeat. And I think what Stevie said. I think the camera work was all really cool, especially at the end with the white and the red. Somebody mentioned that with Gnostic or Gnosis, so I thought it was really cool. It might not be a movie I watch again, but there might be some jams I listen to again. I think I think this is good. Good pick.
Cool, I'll take it. Josh.
Yes and no, dog.
Whoa.
It's kind of got a grimy feel to it, and I don't particularly like the cinematography. It kind of feels all over the place. Not much symmetry. Just a different taste. It's not like terrible. I just don't like it. I don't really like musicals, so musicals kind of have to be on like next level shit for me to give it a yes. But
Hamilton,
Aladdin.
Dude, I don't know why I like Hamilton. It's weird, but this is a no for me. Sorry, Korey. I don't regret like watching it. it's a unique experience that I won't soon forget.
All good. No worries, man. Thank you for being honest. Pappy.
Yeah, after the rewatch, I'd go as far as like a hard yes for this one. I think there's a lot of like interesting things going on thematically, especially when you're talking about like, the origin of love stuff that Josh was talking about. Like, I just really like that kind of like concept, and you know, from like the Berlin Wall, like playing with like the division and the theme, and like how it falls and Berlin comes together, and eventually, you know, she comes together. It's there's a lot going on, and like I was, like I said, pretty overwhelmed the first time I watched it. Like, one, you're trying to decide, you know, is this real? Is this not real? And two, you're like trying to decide, like, okay, what are they even trying to say with this, whether or not it is real? But the last thing I would say would be, though, you know, if not to speak for a community, but if I were, you know, in the transgender community, I would keep fighting for a movie starring a transgender person about like an actual transgender journey. Like, I don't understand how that movie hasn't been made when there's such a huge demand for Rocky Horror Picture Show. This has a huge cult following. Like, why not give this group of people like actual representation? I guarantee it'll be like financially profitable for you to do based on everything I've seen. But Kyle, I'm really glad you picked this. Hard yes for me. May not be in my rotation because it's pretty tragic at times, but I enjoyed these couple of watches and learning more about it.
Nice. I'm going to insert myself next again. Pappy, I did see a pretty interesting movie about a transgender woman, starring a transgender woman in 2017. It's called A Fantastic Woman, so there is that one that I've seen. I know there's not a whole lot.
But it's got to be a musical. There's a huge demand for that. I don't understand why it hasn't happened.
True. Yeah. You're right. There's not a lot, but my opinion of this movie is very high. I love this movie a lot. I only saw it maybe 4 years ago, and I like it a little bit more every time I see it. I like the music more every time I listen to it. This is really my kind of movie because it's like grimy, it's in your face, it makes me laugh. It's just like that dirty feel to it that I think Josh was touching on. I just kind of like that. I think earlier I said it reminds me of a 2000s music video, and it does in a good way, if that makes any sense. Not a Linkin Park, maybe something more edgy. Stevie, why don't you go?
Man, oh man. I've only said this a few times on this pod. I think I said it with Jordan when he picked Heat. I think I said it to Brett when he picked American Movie. And I'll say this now. This is one of my favorite movies we've ever covered on this podcast. I absolutely love this movie. The music is awesome. I think the acting is great. It is all over the place. It is grimy. It is tragic. It's funny. It's also 90 minutes long. Like, that is a huge boost for this movie. But this is the hardest of yeses for me. One of my favorites we've covered. I'm so happy you picked it because I had never even heard of it or seen it. And having watched it, awesome movie.
Wow, I'm shocked. I kind of got the vibe that you didn't like this as we were covering it, but I guess I just...
Oh, no. I love this movie. It was hard for me to contain myself at times.
He just didn't want to talk about the subtext.
Told you.
Korey, you got a lot of yeses tonight, and that's cool, but you have a weird movie taste. Pappy and I were actually discussing this privately earlier. Like, I can't wait till we finally see you in person. I would love to watch a movie with you. I just want to watch you watch a movie. I got to get to the bottom of this, man.
We'll all get together and throw on some Danish Girl and have a great time. It'll be fantastic.
You know, if you guys want to see me like really excited in a movie theater, it has to be my first viewing of a new Star Wars movie, which I know a lot of you guys hate the new Star Wars movies, but I think you'd see the little kid in me if you got to see me watch one of those for the first time. That would probably be the funnest experience.
So if you are super happy watching a new Star Wars movie, are you that same way each episodes of the Clone Wars that you watch? Every new episode you see?
As it progresses, more and more so, definitely. It gets better, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. But I don't want to... That's only available on Patreon, sadly. So let's not get too into that in the free show.
Well, I guess that means it's trivia time. This is Poor Man's Jeopardy!
Let's go! Kylo, is it true that you're still in the running to replace Trebek?
Yes, it's true. In fact, I'm down to the final, so...
Wow. Remember us.
Alright, quick bit of info for any new listeners. Here at Spoilers, we rotate hosts based on who wins the last episode's trivia. So whoever wins this trivia is going to get to pick the next movie we review, and they will also host that episode. So it's not me every time. We rotate based on this, and we do different trivia games. This game is somewhat similar to regular Jeopardy! I have a board with 4 categories. They have different point values. Our contestants here are going to choose a category, point value, etc., etc. You must respond in the form of a question. You guys have all played this before, though, so you already know. For the listeners at home, the categories are musicians in film, films set in Indiana, Harry Potter movies, and Disney live-action characters. Each correct response will be the name of a character from a live-action Disney film. All right, you guys got the board. Pappy, you're up first.
This is honestly my favorite game in all of Spoilers Trivia. I don't think I've ever started on this Schneid.
Well, I hope someone appreciates it. It takes a very long time to make.
The listeners love it. We've gotten a lot of good feedback on it. I'm going to go film set in Indiana for 3, Kylo.
All right, this one's a little bit wordy, so forgive me. Set in the fictional town of Greenleaf, Indiana, this romantic comedy follows a teacher who begins to question his sexuality after a former student publicly outs him as being gay.
I don't know. Shit. What is A Christmas Story?
Oh, jeez.
I'm sorry, that is incorrect. What is In and Out? Which was a romantic comedy that my mother loved.
Good name for a romantic comedy. The old In and Out.
And a porno.
The old In Out, In Out. Brett, you're up next.
Man, I blew it.
What a sophisticated joke.
I'll go musicians in film for 2.
In Fight Club, his name was Robert Paulson, but on the music stage, he goes by this.
What is Meatloaf?
That is correct, although
Nice.
Who is Meatloaf may have been more appropriate.
What is Meatloaf?
That's his stage name. You asked what his stage name was.
What is Meatloaf?
Right, he's a who, not a what, but that's okay. It was in the form of a question.
You asked what his name was. A name
that
is a
would be
what?
the answer to this beef-based dish is usually baked.
And ketchup and onion.
Brett loves this food. What is Meatloaf?
It's all good. You got it. So that puts you in the lead with 2 points. Stevie, you're up next.
I always lose this in devastating fashion, so...
Hit me with some live-action Disney characters for Dose.
Emilio Estevez in The Mighty Ducks.
What's his name?
Yeah, each correct response is the name of the character.
Can I respond? Does it have to be a who? Can I do a when or a what?
Sure, why not?
How?
All right.
Okay, it's who is Gordon Bombay?
That is correct.
There we go.
Josh, you're still with us, right?
Film set in Indiana for 1, please.
Okay, good. You'll Shoot Your Eye Out is said more than one time in this holiday
God damn
classic.
it.
Where is A Christmas Story?
What is In and Out?
I'm sorry, the correct response is what is In and Out. Now you got it right, of course. It is A Christmas Story. Score update for the listeners. Pappy has -3. Brett and Stevie have 2. Josh has 1. But as in typical poor man's Jeopardy tradition, it's anyone's game. Pappy, you're up.
Give me film set in Indiana for 2, please, Kylo.
Liam Neeson plays a professor of Indiana University and sexologist in this 2004 film.
I don't know the name of them. What is Kinsey?
That is correct.
Great job.
You do know the name of
I
the
was
movie.
literally. Well, I knew the name of the guy. I didn't know that was the name of the movie.
Great job.
Well done, Pappy.
I'm wearing an Indiana University sweatshirt right now. I would have been disalumnied had I missed it.
I'd take musicians in film for 3.
All right, Brett, going for the big money. In the film Labyrinth, David Bowie plays the Goblin King, also known as this.
Who is Gareth?
Oh, that is so close. I'm sorry, it's who is Jareth.
Oh my gosh.
That is such a good guess, though, Brett.
That sucks.
My God!
You're still not that far away from everyone else. Stevie, you're up.
Give me Harry Potter for 2.
Harry Potter movies for 2. Gilderoy Lockhart is played by this person.
You know, I think he's a director. I don't even know if I'm going to say his name correctly. So give me some leeway on this.
Jareth.
No.
Jareth.
Yeah. I don't know if I can after the Gareth debacle.
Who is Kenneth Branagh?
That is correct.
Let's go!
2 points to Gryffindor.
I'm a Hufflepuff man myself.
Oh, of course you are.
All right, Josh, what you got?
Harry Potter movies for 1.
The second entry in the Harry Potter film series.
Josh has never seen a Harry Potter.
Whence is the Chamber of Secrets?
Whence?
You wrote these books, you should know.
Josh K. Rowling.
Josh, please repeat.
What is Chamber of Secrets?
I will accept that. I would have also accepted what is Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets.
They're all Harry Potter ands.
I love that joke, by the way, Josh. And whence?
Quick score update for the listeners.
Thanks for giving that to me, though, Korey. You're a generous god.
No problem. Pappy, -1. Brett, -1. Stevie in charge with 4. And Josh with 2. Pappy, how will you affect the outcome of this game?
Disney live-action characters for 3, please, Kyla.
The kid in A Kid in King Arthur's Court.
Fuck, I don't know. I've seen this movie.
No guesses?
No, hold on. Who is Henry Rowan Gardner?
That's what I was going to say.
Nice. Same.
But I don't know his name.
That is Rookie of the Year.
Was it Calvin?
Who is Calvin of Reseda?
Stevie
Was I right?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
I'll take Harry Potter movies for 3.
Took my chance away.
Can't win. I can't win, so.
Neither can Josh, apparently.
Oh, yeah.
No, not really.
Yeah, I
Because
could
Stevie
pick
could.
Josh to win.
Yeah, we could tie. You're good. Go for it, man.
No, I'm not like you. I don't want.
It's too late.
It's too late, Brett. You picked the category.
All right, I guess we're playing on. Harry Potter movies for 3. Director of the first 2 Harry Potter films.
Who is Chris Columbus?
That is correct.
Freaking 1 syllable off, and I'd be champ right now.
Wouldn't it be Christopher?
I think he goes by Chris.
It's a smart move.
Yeah.
This is smart.
Like if my name was Eric Clapton, I'd go by Erica or something.
Wow, bring it back.
Please keep bringing it back.
If my name was Gary, I'd definitely go by Jareth. Screw you, David Bowie.
I want Josh to have music because he seems more like a musical dude than me. So I'll go Disney live-action characters for 1.
All right, if you get this correct, you do win the game, Stevie.
I kind of want Josh and I to go to overtime.
Everybody
Let's
suck
do it.
in.
Orlando Bloom in Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl.
He loves these movies. He's lying.
Can I give him like the full name or no?
First and last.
Okay. Who is the son of Bootstrap Bill himself, William Turner?
That is correct. You best start believing in victories. You got one.
Wait, he said Turner. Isn't it Turner? It's Turner.
It was an accent.
Jareth. All over again.
That's exciting.
Good win, Stevie.
Josh, I'm going to do the last question on you just for fun.
Okay. I'm going to let Brett answer it probably.
In Purple Rain, the kid was played by Prince, who during the 90s dropped that title and became more widely known as this.
What is the artist formerly known as Prince?
That is correct.
That is correct.
Or the symbol.
I had to say what is, like just like that, right? Otherwise, I wouldn't have been. Yeah.
Yes, that is correct, Josh. Very well done. Stevie, you are today's champion. I think what we're going to do is we're going to take a moment, send it over to Spoiler Man. We're going to come back. You're going to tell us your pick, and then we'll close it out.
Let's do it.
What you got to say, Spoiler Man?
Special thank you to our patrons, Nick.
I love his work.
Druid King.
Hot.
Metro.
Now that kid's got a future, huh?
Brother Brian.
You're so fine.
If you would like to help Spoilers continue to make podcasts, please consider going to patreon.com/spoilerspodcast. Spoilers is now available on Audible.
And we're back. Thank you very much, Spoiler Man. Stevie, our Poor Man's Jeopardy trivia champion, seems to win a lot when I do Poor Man's Jeopardy.
I enjoy it.
I assure you there's no funny business.
It's rigged.
Stevie, why don't you tell us what movie you're going to be hosting next time?
Man, oh man. Well, like this episode I want to do isn't going to get released by Valentine's Day. So we're going to push off Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind for now, which is a banger of a Valentine's Day movie. And we're going to go with a guy who only directed one movie in his entire career. His name is Stevie as well. His name is Stephen King. And that movie was Maximum Overdrive.
Great choice.
I cannot wait to spoil this movie because it is...
Is it bad?
Absolute nonsense,
Yeah, it's
and I
awful.
can't wait for it.
Man, we're slowly but surely turning into Big Dumb Movie. I love it.
I was going to say, Korey freaking loves the bad movies.
Yeah, speaking of Gordon Bombay. But thank you very much, Stevie. That's awesome. That's been a podcast. Thank you guys for joining me. Take it away, Spoiler Man.
Spoiler Man here. Our email is podcastspoilers@gmail.com. Twitter is @spoilers_pod. Our Instagram is Podcast Spoilers. It's lit. Josh Hensley from the Rutabaga wrote our theme song. Our Spoilers hotline is 903-776-4507. That's 903-SPOIL07. Please support this podcast by leaving us an iTunes review. To do this, 1. Search for Movie Spoilers. 2. Click on our orange Spoilers Bowl logo and scroll all the way to the bottom. 3. Leave us some stars and some words. Now you can check us out on Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, Apple, and Google Podcasts. If you enjoyed what you heard today, subscribe on SoundCloud or iTunes.
Stevie dominant tonight.
Spoiler man. You're
Dominant in trivia.
I didn't know how to say Kenneth's last name. I've never heard it before.
That's how I've always said it, so I hope that's
I literally always lose this game in devastating fashion to Stevie.
One time Mikey won.
He did.
That can't be right.
What an upset.
He won the
He
first
won with
time I
like
did it.
0, a score of flat 0.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. It was like, some people had like -6 and stuff. Yeah.
Was it during Spooky Spoilers that Brett did the hardest poor man's trivia like man has ever seen?
Oh, for Predator?
No, I did Predator.
Okay,
I didn't think it was hard at all, but yeah, nobody got.
I think
hardly
one
anybody
person got
right.
a question right.
No, a couple people did. Korey won that, right?
Yeah. Because there was like a movie quotes category or something.
Yeah, I was like, I kept making it harder because I'm like, this is so easy. Yeah, nobody got it right. I mean, yeah, maybe I think a couple people got. When Pappy's not getting the ones right about the Evil Dead, I knew I was in trouble, and that was actually at the end.
Frank Oz directed In and Out? How have I never even heard of this movie?
Yoda?
Miss Piggy?
Is it good?
It's not really good. It's just a 90s romantic comedy. They all kind of blend together to me because my mom used to have a lot of them playing in the house.
Watch this tonight.
You know who hated Frank Oz? Marlon Brando.
Why?
I don't know. He used to call him Miss Piggy. He directed him in a movie once, and they just freaking did not get along.
That's Marlon with everybody.
This might be a good summation of In and Out. Here's a Letterboxd review. 2.5 stars. Fellas, is it gay to read a book?
Oh, interesting.
I feel like I know exactly what kind of movie this is based on that review.
It's been a long time since I've seen it. It might be a tad, say, outdated. Might be the way to put it.
That's what I'm guessing. Bob Newhart, though.
How you doing, Stevie?
Nervous.
What?
Still on the fence?
No, I'm ready.
That was Spoilers.